Your Excellency, go and read the letter I wrote to World Bank, asking for $82 million to build Kaichi Dam to provide 760 megawatts of electricity. And he wrote it clear. I'm applying for this loan strictly to borrow for this investment to spur growth, economic growth for my country. That was 58 years ago. That facility is still standing. What he borrowed is $82 million. We now owe $120 billion without anything to show for it because we consumed it. It was for consumption. There's nothing wrong with borrowing. Every country of the world borrows. No country. Every country of the world borrows. America is the biggest economy. They are owing over 100% of their GDP. The second biggest economy is China. They are owing about 60% of their GDP. The third one is Japan. Japan is owing 230% of their GDP. It can go on and show you. Even Netherlands, that had the highest sovereign wealth fund of 1.4 trillion, Your Excellency, is owing 50% of their GDP. So everybody borrows. The difference is what you use the borrowing to do. Where did you invest it? What did he create? Our own was for consumption. People are borrowing for investment. And I've gone from countries to countries everywhere to show that this is happening. China borrowed in 1990, 93% to 95% of Chinese people live under poverty. Today, it's less than 2%. India was a similar situation.
This video was brought to you by Okochapi Masses Blog. Please kindly subscribe to this channel and share our videos. They
have less than 3%. So, ours that we have been throwing people out of poverty. And just to illustrate to you why borrowing is different here and other countries. I was in Bangladesh in 2010. I've studied 31 countries, comparing them with Nigeria. In Bangladesh in 2010, Your Excellency, they had a GDP of $115 billion with a per capita of $747 per capita. And their debt was $45 billion, 36% of their GDP in 2010. Nigeria, as at then, had a GDP of $375 billion, per capita of $2,250. So we are 3 times Vietnam in terms of per capita, which is a real measure of wealth. And our debt then was $30 billion, less than 10% of our GDP. Today, Vietnam GDP is $340 billion. They've grown by 3 times. Their per capita is $2,050. They've grown by 10 times. Their debt also increased to about $116 billion, which remains even less than 36% because it's now about 32% of their GDP, which means they borrowed more, they invested it. If you go to Vietnam today, the exports, their overseas diaspora fund, everything have increased. Today, Vietnam exports garments, $36 billion towards what we earn from oil. Garments, they're not just garments. That's what they export. Not it's something that is sophisticated. And all small businesses, which we're not doing here. And in our own situation, our GDP today is about $400 billion. Our per capita, which is the real measure of wealth, is now 1,000, call it 2,000. So we've actually lost about 11% of what we were in 2010. And our debt have gone from $30 billion to $120 billion. So we borrowed about $100 billion, which nobody can explain what was invested. And when you ask, they say it's for capital project. If you borrow money and it didn't impact on your GDP, it didn't impact on your capital, you consumed it. That is the crisis we face as a nation. The consequence is that our debt service now is over 90% of our income. In 2001, first 5 months of 2001, Your Excellency, Nigeria as a country made 1,847 billion naira. We use 1,802 to service debts. 98%, only 45 remaining for a country of 200 million people. And we are borrowing more. We said last year our budget was 13.5 trillion. We are going to borrow only 5 trillion. We borrowed 7. This year, our budget plus subsidy and everything will be hitting about 20. They say they are going to borrow only about 6. Your Excellency, we are not going to borrow less than 10. And that is the crisis that was. And what are we even borrowing? With these monies, we are now issuing foreign bonds of 2040, 2045, 26, when we are no longer going to be here. And our children, in the past 1 year, Nigeria has not put 1 naira in the sinking fund. Not 1 naira. So even when you are servicing debt, you're supposed to be saving money to pay the debt. When it matures, we are not putting money there. The crisis is that when we are dead, our children will have nowhere because we've eaten their future. And nobody is talking about that. And we need to move this country in. And there's nothing wrong in this country. It's a country that can be changed. Look at something like Taraba. Look at what is happening all over the world. Today we are struggling with oil, sharing of oil money. Who is doing that? Even in America, that is the biggest country in the world. Texas, that is producing several more oil than we are producing. The biggest state in America is California. And what does California do? Texas is not even number 1. They're not number 2. They're number 3. Texas GDP today is 3.4 trillion. 8 times Nigerian GDP. They have no oil. What they're exporting is agriculture and knowledge. Agricultural materials and knowledge. That's all that is making them that thick. Well, we are here fighting over a diminishing access that has since expired. All you didn't say yet Venezuela. Venezuela have 10 times more oil than Nigerian deposits, and yet that collapse. And we're here fighting about oil. No country is talking about oil today. Vietnam, countries and nations have everywhere. Look at the vast land I saw when we are alive here today. I told the people in Niger, you have 76.3 square kilometers of land in Niger State. Your Excellency, they can't feed themselves. They can't feed Nigeria. They don't export anything. The other one is natural. When you deal with natural one, because people have means of livelihood, you deal with support to your security agencies, which is renewable every year. And with this, you generate more money. Every day, Your Excellency, we say in this country, and we don't have revenue. We don't have revenue. Even when our government said the revenue to GDP is too low, it has to be low. Because you have millions of people who are not doing anything. The more your people are doing something, the more your economy is productive, the more revenue you generate. You can't generate revenue from people who are not doing anything. It's a simple thing. It's been done everywhere in the world, and it's very easy, Your Excellency. It's not a question. If you go, and where do you generate the most revenue? In your youth, the young ones, in their productive age. You have to invest in them. And what do they need? They need access to capital and training. They have the idea. They can change the world. It's not a sophisticated thing. Nigerian youths are talented. All they need is support. And it has to be government-determined support. It's happening in China. If you go to Indonesia, they have a particular number of their loans that go to small businesses. What changes the country is small corporations. Nothing by saying it the way we are saying it here. There's no money. They'll tell you, oh, every day here government support to small businesses. It's not true. The only way you will know it's not true is that go and check The total lending of all the banks, I've shared 2 banks, is about 30 trillion. Out of which less than 5% go to small businesses. It cannot happen. Indonesia is written, 25% of all their loans go to small businesses. China is 20, they've just increased it to 30. The consequence is that if you go to these 2 countries, if you go to Indonesia, 98% of the companies are micro, small businesses. In fact, Indonesia, a country of about 250 million persons, their total employment is 140. Small businesses created 130 million jobs. Only 10 million is created by other people. In Indonesia, they even have Ministry of Small Businesses to support it. In China, as China is, China today, all their productivity, all their GDP is about 60-65% for small businesses. The total employment in China is 800 million. Small businesses provide 60% of that, which is 540 million. So you must support this engine. It is critical. We're not doing that. What we are doing here is celebration, sharing. Nigeria, the only thing Nigeria has is sharing formula. Nobody talks anything. All that I came to ask you people is that we need to move this country from sharing formula to production formula. It cannot continue. We must move from consumption to creating wealth. Other countries have done it for the future of our children. It is critical. It is not something anybody can tell. They can tell you, oh, it's sophisticated. No. I've gone from one country to the other, studying. I just came back from Morocco recently, not up to a month ago. Morocco exported last year 40-something billion worth of exports. Not oil. Agricultural products, 8 billion. Morocco. Vehicles, car manufacturing, 10 billion. I can go on. Tourism, 3-point-something billion. That's what they had last year in Morocco. Morocco is just here. So it's not as if this thing, you ask about power generation. This is the only country where to switch on your light, everybody knows how much power is being produced. Everybody knows whether the national grid has failed or whether every other country just put light on and off. Here you must know everything. You must even be calling from government house, you're calling the people who are in charge of the power company. No other country does that. Egypt borrowed only 6 billion euros, call it 10 billion naira. And within 2015 and today, Egypt have doubled their power generation from 26,000 megawatts to 54,000 megawatts. Egypt, they're not far. You go to, so we are number 1 biggest economy in Africa. We generate 4,000 megawatts. If we are able to get it. Number 2 biggest economy is South Africa. They generate 54,000. Egypt is number 3. It generates between 54 and 55. But the giant, they raise 4. That's the crisis. And they give you all sorts of excuse. Yesterday, there's nothing in power generation. There's nothing in power distribution. It's very easy. Anybody who tells you any story is this. Excellency, let me conclude because he's introduced me. I was governor of a state. My dear people, today God has given you position where you are in authority, where you are delegates. You won't be that forever. Your Excellency is the governor. He will not be governor forever. I tell people that when I was in office. His greatest achievement, you might not know, is not in building infrastructure. And I tell people that is in ensuring the civility and order and peace in the state. He's going to leave office and go to his house and stay because he has not surrounded himself with enemies. When you're this post, it's a very difficult post. I've heard it. Because everybody you meet will tell you are doing well. Hardly will anybody tell you are doing. They will tell you the truth when you leave. When you leave here, the announcement you'll be hearing, you'll be wondering whether it was these people who was announcing this. So what I tell people is that it is important that you know you're not going to be here forever. And make peace. Ensure that you do the right things as much as you can. I live in Onitsha today. I don't live any outside anywhere. I don't have a house anywhere outside Onitsha. That's where I live. I live with the people. So there's no more security. There's no more thing. Before you come to church or come to anywhere, 10 people will stand up for you to sit down. Today, if you come in, they say don't mind him. Even if they ask them to sit up, they say they will not do it. So it is important that you do the right things so that you still out of the 10 who used to stand up, 2 will still stand up. The same thing goes to you in your different offices. It is important. When I used to go around everything, people would say this and that. I was governor of the state for 8 years. Very difficult. I quarreled with the elites. Because when you do the right things, you have elites as your enemies. I quarreled with all of them. I used to go to Abuja, and the president would say to me, your people are not happy with you. And I would say, Mr. President, I never promised happiness. I promised to shut down the cost of governance in order to fix school, in order to make things work. With that, we moved our education from number 1, from number 26 to number 1. Because that's what I promised. Every senior prefect of secondary school had my phone number. I speak to them, but I don't speak to the elites because they are part of the confusion. And they will tell you everything. I used to go to Abuja where the president's wife would quarrel with me and said, you're the only governor without office of first lady. And I said to her, listen, my wife never campaigned. Nobody voted her. 2 of us are too close. Since we signed to be one in our marriage, he's part of me. So let us stand. Because the same people who are following her as officer will tell you what is committed. So I said, let's have less confusion. She said, no. So we shut down every cost in order to be able to function. And when I left, some people say, oh, how can you leave money? How can you do this? I said, well, it's their money. It belongs to them. I'm going, handed over public, just to come in where he sent them. The day I left office, I invited everybody. If you go to Access Bank the day I left, I had $50 million to $1 billion. I had in Fidelity Bank, $56 million to $1 billion. And I had in Diamond Bank, $50 million, because I was saving in dollars and naira. I had $50 million to $1 billion. Handed it over to the incoming governor. This is my 8th year of living office. Anambra has not bought me pure water. Because I said, no pension, no gratuity, I'm going home. I don't want to be part of anything. I've gone home. All I'm asking you, when you want to vote as delegates, do not look at me. Do not look at people who will come here. All of us will come here. Some will give you money. Some will, because they have plenty of it. Anybody who brings anything, please take it. Don't say no to them. The money belongs to you. Take it. But when you want to vote, put the picture of your children in front of you and ask yourself, which society do I want these children to live? Because they might not be delegates. You are delegates. Your children, it's not inherited. It's not an inheritance. So they will inherit delegates. So, which society do I want them to live in? And focus your vote. We can't continue this way. Our nation cannot continue this way. The abuse is too much. And we can stop it. Let nobody tell you we cannot stop it. Even corruption that we shout, we can't stop corruption. If the governor is not stealing, if his wife is not stealing, his children and relations are not stealing, reduce it by 60%. I've been a governor. Like Your Excellency, everything that passes through here, he will approve. I've approved it. And I can say it. I know what people say behind him. If they're not telling him the truth, I'll tell him, I say, okay, this job, amend. I have my colleagues, governors that I called a few months before they left. I said, try to amend small before you leave here. One of the people I advised recently was my own governor. Even when I wasn't in good terms with him, I called his friend and said, tell your guy, you should be careful. He has created a whole enmity. If he does it wrongly and leave, you won't even believe. Because the place you live in the evening, you'll be wondering whether this your phone is spoiled. Because for 100 phones a day, you won't even get one in 2 days. So you must be careful. The same thing for all of you today, commissioners and everything. House of Assembly, everybody is following you. When you leave office, you see how many times that phone will ring. If you call somebody self, he will tell you that you're very busy. I see, are you still around? And you'll be wondering, this person that calls me every day. So it's something I've experienced. Let us go out there and stop this abuse. The society we abuse today, Your Excellency, will take its revenge on us, on our children, on our grandchildren. Your Excellency, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Glad you watched this video to the end. That is a throwback video. That was when Mr. Peter Obi was the governor of Anambra State. He met with the president Olusegun Obasanjo, and Obasanjo told him that people are not happy with him, and he educated the president the reason why people are not happy with him, that people want him to embezzle money and share it to them. And he told the president the reason why Nigeria have been in abject poverty and why Nigeria has accumulated a huge amount of debt, saying that we are borrowing for consumption, not for investment, not for production. That is far way back in 2005.